Okay, today we're gonna talk about a little device
Mm-hmm.
that has been the topic of a lot of contention, and that's the
Yes.
TraceTogether token.
Now it's official. We have the physical thing and it's being handed out this very moment, right?
Yeah, so it started being handed out this very week. The government started a nationwide distribution. It was actually already distributed to 10,000 seniors in June, I guess, because a lot of seniors don't have smartphones, right? So then they decided to give them these. And how it works is that it exchanges Bluetooth signals with other mobile devices that have downloaded the same app. So if you were to contract the disease, they would very easily be like, let's say I meet up with Andy,
Yep.
it would sort of detect that we have met, and then they would straight away go and pinpoint Andy as a contact.
Yeah. So I think what they do is that once you are a confirmed case, they will collect your token from you, and
Yeah.
from your token they will actually extract the people that have come into contact with you via Bluetooth, right?
Yep.
So these names, they are actually all stored in serial numbers inside your token. They are not stored in names, and your name and contact is not stored inside this token, but the name and contact is actually stored in another device and another storage, and this storage is controlled by the government. So they will tally your serial number to your name and your contact, and then they will contact the people. So it's
Right.
not
So
anonymous. I mean, I guess
it's
that's
not
the whole
lah. It's
point.
not lah.
That's the whole point, to know
It's
who
not
you
lah.
are.
Like
Yeah.
if you drop the device, yes, no one will be able to find out your name and contact through that, but the government will definitely be able to know who dropped that device, for example. Right.
Yep.
So then just
True.
some other points to take note of. The token will encrypt data and store the information for up to 25 days, after which it will be deleted.
I think
Right.
auto delete, right? After 25 days.
Yeah, auto delete after 25 days. I guess that makes sense as well, because in terms of storage, they managed it up to 25 days, which I think they think is a safe period to check the contagious period of a person. And the other thing is that it apparently does not record the user's location. It just records who has come into contact with the user.
Yeah, so it's not, basically what they're saying is that it's not a GPS. So basically, I can't tell where you are. So all this information, basically, we are just reiterating from the news media. I mean, we have to take their word for it, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, I can kind of roughly tell where you're going.
No, I don't have anything. I'm just being very factual about this, because I do, like when I read something, right, I'll say like, okay, where do we get this from? How do we back this up? Like scientifically, technically, like if you look at like a phone, like then you look at the specs, you look at the hardware, you look at the stuff, and the software, everything is transparent and open, right? But all we get is this opaque thing, and we don't know anything that's inside. We don't know how it works. We don't know anything. All we have is the word from the government. And I personally do believe the word of the government. But then I would also like to have something to back it up. You know what I mean? Because it's one source, but how, in this time and age, you don't just take one source and just agree.
Let's go through like some online sentiments. Okay, let's start with the positive. So there are people who are actually for the token. Someone has said that they feel it's more convenient than constantly going into an app. Also, the app didn't work well on iOS.
Yes.
I think something with the iOS and the Bluetooth, maybe
it's me. I know, because I'm an iOS user. So the issue with the app, actually, that the app worked pretty well on Android, because you can run it on the background. It still drains your battery though, but you run on your background, so you can continue using your phone for other functions. But on an iOS, right, once the app is not your main app, opened app, right, it stops working. So for it to work, right, you have to keep the whole app open, which is not possible, lah. So I am pretty sure that like almost none of Apple users are actually using that app properly. That's a huge part of the population that are not using the TraceTogether app.
And on top of that, the TraceTogether app has a 35% take-up rate. So that means a good 65% of the population is not on the TraceTogether app, right? The app. So some of the other sentiments is that someone said that since the tool doesn't really help the government collect personal data, they believe that this is really a device that will help curb the spread of the virus. Other people have said that they feel safer, because now if everyone were to carry this token, they would be able to find out whether they have been in contact with someone who has tested positive. And then other people, like, of course, there are people who complain like, must carry some extra thing, but other people say like, it's just another item, it's very small, just carry around, no big deal. Battery life is about 6 to 9 months without changing, which is quite good, I think. So it's not
hardcore, very hardcore. Good for you, Singapore. Your tech is, your battery is powerful.
I think of expat, taken a swipe at Boris. Is it? So here in Singapore, we've had compulsory QR code check-in since about May. I love that Boris is only just rolling this out in the UK. So now we're getting a check-in key thingy, so we don't have to take time to open the app on phone. So some people like it. They think it's very convenient because now actually, even if you don't use the TraceTogether app to get into any building, you actually have to scan in and out. So if you were to carry this token, safe entry.
Safe entry.
Yes. Hello. We had a whole app on that. Yeah. So you have to scan the safe entry app every time you go in and out. Basically, if everybody carried this token, then we wouldn't need like shopping centers and buildings to actually have you check in and out because you already kind of know who you're in contact with. So that's what some people are happy about. And if they were in contact with someone who tested positive, this person says, then I wouldn't visit my 95-year-old grandma or my parents. So they actually like it because they say that it's better because then everything is traceable. Everything is like in control. Like you basically have this information. I know that I came into contact with someone who tested positive, then I'll choose not to go out. So that's the whole point, I think, of this contact tracing token. Right.
Yeah.
Of course, there are a lot of arguments against it. So an actual petition was started online, actually still going on, against the use of these TraceTogether tokens. Okay, and interestingly, right, before, like I thought that people would object to it because of a privacy issue, but interestingly, being very Singaporeans, a lot of netizens find it a waste of money, simply. It's just like what we talked about with the NDP fund pack. Same logic.
They did not disclose how much the whole thing cost, right? They didn't disclose.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Which I also feel you should disclose, right? Like how much do you spend on this thing? Yeah.
I think that because if you just go online, like really, a lot of people are pissed off at how much money they've spent. No one knows how much money they've spent. And I think there's a reason why the government doesn't want to tell us how much money they've spent. I agree with you though, because it's taxpayers' money. They should divulge how much money they've spent on it.
Yeah, they should. Of course.
Yeah. Other netizens are angry because they say it's an invasion of privacy and freedom. Someone said they find it troublesome and it's a sign that the government is dog tagging its citizens. This one like actually was quite vocal. Said dog tagging, aren't we following PRC?
Yep. That's a privacy concern, right?
Privacy concern. Then some people don't trust the government. Like I think you said you trust that they really are just getting out of context, who we've been in contact with and not anything else. But some citizens completely doubt that the device just tracks that and doubts that it does not track other stuff. And then of course there are a little bit more dramatic ones who say it feels like the end of times. Next step is to just implant chips in us since the device is too leceh to bring out. And actually, Andie, you shared this BBC article.
Yeah, that's a BBC article because when I was reading up on it, and then I had a weird feeling about the token. I do think that it is useful at this point, but there is this discomfort. So I went to look at other perspective, and I couldn't find any locally. So I actually read an article on BBC. I would say it's quite a fair article. It doesn't really bash it in any way, but it did provide the perspective of like why this device might be dangerous when it comes to privacy. And basically what they are saying is that at this point, right, this token, right, it doesn't really track anything about your privacy, right? So right now it's voluntary. So basically it's like, it's voluntary, and then there's no GPS in it, it's Bluetooth, and then they are using it for the seniors, which is you cannot argue with that, right? Because the seniors, they don't have a phone, right? And then they say, the information is stored for 25 plays, and then it is privacy because the information is stored separately. So there's a lot of boxes that they tick, like, okay, it's not a tracking device and everything, but it is a tracking device in the end, And then what they are saying is that when everybody has a token like that, we are only like one law away from the state saying that, okay, now it's compulsory. And if you take a step back and you look at it, right? If one day we have a spike of 100 cases, which is possible, right? There is a reason for the government to say, okay, from now on, everybody has to bring it around. The whole issue that makes me very nervous is that this is a slippery slope. Where do we draw the line?
I mean, for sure, it could be a slippery slope, but I'm just wondering, like, what could be the next worst thing? You know what I mean? It's like, that's a horrible thing, but what's the worst that could happen to me? I'm just playing devil's advocate and asking, okay, so
what's the next round on the slippery slope? Then they'll be able to track all of us. They'll be able to track they will be able to know where we have been, I feel that means we are a police state already lah. They can know where we are, who we are, what we are doing, who we are in contact to, what we are, who are the people we are talking to. This is basically a huge breach of privacy, right? Like if I have someone that I want to meet and I don't want people to know about it, like it's nothing to do with the government, but now I don't have that privacy. So that is a slope. And then it will also be like, if, for example, if you're an opposition or if you have opinion that's against the government, and then they will know where you are, who you are, right? Yeah, and who you are in contact with, right? And these all people. So all these are like really worst case scenario, and it feels like it will never happen in Singapore and everything. I mean, if you look at history, a government can change in 48 hours. And the next government might have this power. You don't know, you just don't know. And it's scary to have this kind of power in government, and you don't know what's going to happen next. And tech is a very powerful thing. And when there's so much power if government, it's scary, if you ask me. But on the other hand, I have to say that I do feel it's very important to have a way to contact trace and everything. And especially the way they are entering it with the seniors, right? I really can't argue with that, because I have my grandparents, they don't know how to use a phone, and if they don't have that, they are not they don't have a smartphone, then they can't track so I would like to see more things done and regulated to reassure the citizens.
I think for sure there needs to be some reassurance. I've asked friends, some of them actually feel quite annoyed, annoyed with people who have problems with it, because they feel like the government is doing what they can to contain the spread, and true. Unfortunately, because it's a very contagious disease, it's imperative that you need to know where your people are. So there's this upcoming disease X as well, which is quite scary.
Yes, right? You want to talk more about that?
PM Lee mentioned in a recent parliament speech that COVID-19 will not be Singapore's last public health crisis. Scientists have been talking about disease X, which is a new unknown disease that's highly infectious, deadly, and mutates easily.
That means it takes all the crazy virus slots. All the boxes.
So he actually went as far as to say COVID-19 has been a disaster for the world, but it's not disease X. And in other words, disease X hasn't even arrived. So some people say that at least, that they are doing something to prepare to fight the upcoming disease X, right? So I think that's an interesting point of view.
I don't know, if it feels like a fear-mongering thing that I'm not a fan of.
People also do not generally check out. Okay, I personally always forget to check out. Because you're you go to a shopping center, you go to a shop, then you go in, you check in because you have to. When you go out, you don't. So I have 100 tabs, I'm not even kidding, on my phone. OCD people will be very upset to hear and see that I have 100 open tabs, but people do not check out. And so I think some people, in defense of the TraceTogether token, have said that this token would help citizens overcome that pitfall.
I'm very privacy and everything, but I check in and check out when I go places, because I feel like that's a sense of responsibility, and I also want to take care of my own well-being, right? So I do feel that sometimes people just take a bit of reminding. Maybe I don't think that's what I'm saying is I don't think that's a good reason because you never check out, that's why you must take this token.
Actually, I'm curious then. I really am curious to know so that means you diligently try your best to check in and check out, and you actually have no problems with that?
No.
You have no privacy problems with that?
I have, but I understand it. I understand it's necessary at this point, and that's where I think, like I say, you trust us, and I think that it's responsible to everybody else as well that I check in and check out. And yes, I know I'm giving up my privacy because people will know that I've been at this place from this point to this point. But at that level, I feel like it's a responsibility. I'm willing to give up that privacy. But when you give me a token, and right now I don't have, it's voluntary, but it might become compulsory next time. That means I don't have a say in it.
But you check in, check out, technically you also don't have a say.
Yeah, but in between, you don't know where I am, what? I could be outdoor, you don't know where I am, what?
I find this interesting because, right, for me, I feel the same as you. I was actually check in, check out. I found that an invasion of privacy, to be really honest. But I also understand that we're in the midst of a pandemic and certain liberties have to be given up. So actually the TraceTogether app, right, it's not ideal, same as check in, check out. But it actually doesn't track your location. It just checks who you've been in contact with.
Yeah.
So it's a different, I actually feel like it's a different thing we're arguing. One, you're arguing location, check in, check out, and the other is who have I been in contact with. It's two levels of privacy.
That's
so I'm just quite interested to know.
Oh, that's quite true. That's quite an interesting point. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Why you are more okay with giving up location privacy than giving up contact privacy.
Okay, to me, the difference is not that. To me, the difference is not about the location or the people. To me, it's about a choice. It's like at this point, I know I'm willingly giving up my privacy for the safety sake. And then I know when I check out and I know, okay, now my privacy is mine again, right? Because after I leave that place, you don't know. But if I have the token on me, right, that means I don't know already, leh. It's on all the time. I don't like that choice being taken away from me. And I don't feel, I'm not comfortable with that. Yeah.
And I guess then for someone who has issues with check-in, check-out, then don't go to places where you need to check-in, check-out law. I mean, you have a choice, like you can stay at home or you can just walk down the street and back. But if you want to go into anywhere, even to go and tapao food, right, you have to check-in, check-out. Even at a hawker center, even at so you kind of have the illusion of having a choice because you have your phone and you can decide whether you want to
maybe it's just an illusion, you're right.
I feel
it could be, actually you're right,
Yeah, because end of the day, you still have to check in if you want to get to anywhere. If you want to buy anything at all, you have to check in.
But I have to also defend the token. It is a good tech. I would really love to have an on and off switch on it. And I would really think that it should be optional. Like for example, if the senior citizens might opt in to on it and have it with them all the time. And they also say the other thing is that when there are big events, right? So if you're going for a like 500 people wedding or like a church congregation of 300 people or like an expo, I do think that to gain entry into these places, you should have that on.
For big events, for sure. Because you could be a 500-person conference. You know, maybe I got into contact with person A, but you were at the other end of the room and you never even came within whatever. I think it is important.
So actually, what do you feel? Are you okay with it, with this both invasion?
No, I mean, honestly, like I said just now, I don't like safe entry and I don't like the TraceTogether app because I think both violate privacy rights. And my privacy preferences would be, I don't see why I need to give up that sort of personal information. However, in these times, in these pandemic times, I also feel like it's no choice. And I'm just curious to know. That's why I wanted to know what you felt the difference is between safe entry.
Right. No, wait. So, but wait, to summarize your stand, basically, you're saying that you don't like it, but you still support it. That's what you're saying, right?
It's not so black and white. It's really not so black and white.
Okay.
Because I just want to know why nobody has made any comments against safe entry. But people have so much to say about the TraceTogether token because it's the same thing.
That's a good observation.
Yeah, so that's, to me, it's the same thing. And I don't like either. But at this point in time, I will accept both because it's necessary.
Okay.
That's my stand now.
Cool. All right, Ryan. Guys, tell us what you feel. Are you for or against the safe entry? And also the new TraceTogether token.
Yeah, and tell us why as well. Okay.
All right. Be safe.
Be safe, guys. Make sure you check in because you ain't got no choice.
Yeah. All right. Bye.